All right, here we have one of the quarterfinals, the first one that started, so I just joined whichever one started. Swift Warkite 2 on Living Death against DL23 on Boros Legends. Swift has the ideal turn 2 and the altar. Let's see if he's got some fast mana and the demon. Pretty decent start for Legends. It's not quite a 2-turn clock. Well, it is a 2-turn clock from here, but not a 2-turn clock from the start of this turn. Not presenting lethal. We need another haster, but potentially. Okay, so here is Lake of the Dead. So we do have 6 mana. Do we have the demon? Yes, we do. Game 1 to Swift. That was quick. Okay, game 1. Let's have a look at the sideboards. See if Boros Legends has anything that interacts with all this. 3 Remorseful Clerics is good against the Living Death part of the plan. Purify the Grave is probably pretty bad against the Living Death part of the plan. There's 3 Thalia in the main, 1 in the side. Definitely not nothing. And I guess the main thing is just to curve out, make them have it. Price of Progress, not doing very much here. Game 2. Battlefield Forge probably means not many lands in hand. Might just be retaining flexibility as life total doesn't really matter. Starts with a 1-drop, not very surprising. Nothing from Swift, not very surprising. Rugged Prairie, another reason to start with a Battlefield Forge. No Merry, no Anthem, so presumably either a non-hasty 2-drop or a couple of 1-drops here. Kithian and maybe Zergo. Yeah, Zergo. So an appropriate start. It's a 3-turn clock from here. No altar, so not going to be a turn 3 kill. There could be a turn 3 Living Death. I'm going to flip Kithian here. Okay, Thalia is pretty strong. In terms of, although I guess Lake of the Dead still lets you cast Living Death through a Thalia and it doesn't affect the cycling. Kithian is flipped, which means it doesn't die to Living Death. That's pretty good. It's maybe not good enough if they have Living Death, but it's better than nothing. Thalia is indestructible, but I don't think that matters to Living Death. Living Death exiles them all or something. So turn 3, just more cycling from Swift. So we can attack for 10 here, which is not 12. So the Anthem would be lethal. No Anthem. Chain Lightning is lethal. Burst Lightning is lethal. Chain Lightning it is. Okay, 1-1. Game 3. This is pretty quick. We're going to get to see another one in a minute. Presumably not much to do in sideboarding. Play draw doesn't really matter here, I don't think. I mean, it matters a lot, but it doesn't matter for the sideboarding. Left in the burn, or some of the burn at least, which, you know, makes some kind of sense. At some point you're going to get Living Death, possibly, and it'd be nice to be able to finish them off with burn, speed up by a turn, etc. Certainly leave all the hasters in, all the 1-drops. This is going to be resolved pretty quickly. Lurrus, extremely unlikely to matter in any way, but probably impossible for DL23 to side out of Lurrus, apart from to bring Lurrus into the main deck or something crazy. Swamp and nothing from Swift, which is probably the only turn 1 the deck is capable of. His Kithian, which is strong. Cycling a Rock Beast in return, that's not one of the better 1-mana cyclers. Don't know, doesn't really say much about the hand though. No dinosaur, presumably. No horror of the broken lands, but it doesn't really tell us what the plan is. No altar on turn 2. So more cycling to come, presumably. Oh, here's Thalia. It's pretty strong. So there is a horror, probably drawn into. And an Architects of Will. So Lake of the Dead. Living Death is pretty good here. Just more cycling though. And more cycling. Third land. Dinosaur. Okay, so Living Death next turn. Potentially, off a Dark Ritual. Oh no, Dark Ritual no longer really good here because of the Thalia. So that's pretty key. But you can certainly Living Death with a lake. Do we have a lake? Do we have a Living Death? Looks like maybe not. Cycling, not a show of strength. Or maybe it's just because we're going to play Lake Living Death and we know we have enough mana for that. Because here is Lake. That's 5. Okay, Languish. Languish is pretty strong. Not game ending like a Living Death, but pretty strong. Cost a land, cost a card, but it's a 2 for 3. Sets us back to square one on 14 life. We have a Kythian. Do we have something disruptive or just a Kythian 3 cards in hand is interesting. What does that mean? Purify the Grave is not good here. The Cleric you would play out. Cycling Fetid Pools, also unexciting. So neither deck really doing what it's supposed to. Misses a land drop, but plenty of mana because of the lake. Flowering. At least makes this Kythian kind of a meaningful threat. 2 cards in hand, not missed a land drop on turn 5. Not very exciting for Boris. Did not put Lurrus into hand, which I said was not going to matter, but feels like maybe... Well, let's see what the interaction is. So it goes for Hardcast Archfiend, which is actually extremely good against this deck, honestly. Anytime they play a creature, you cycle once or twice and the creatures are dead, and plus it's a 5/4 flyer, and plus they don't have a whole lot of removal, and the removal they do have does about 2 damage. I wonder if Kicked Burst Lightning could come into play here. Dark Ritual is interesting. Dark Ritual into cycle. Into cycle again. Yeah, so I mean, this is what happens if you have an unanswered Archfiend against an aggro deck. Your deck is full of cycling cards. Roll out a 4/3, just doesn't matter here. This looks pretty good for Swift. A Kick Burst Lightning is the most likely card still to be in the deck that handles the situation. In the meantime, we're drawing towards a Living Death, which is still very good for Swift, I think, even though it's now going to bring back 3 creatures. But it just might not be necessary with this Archfiend running rampant. Here's an Altar, which I think is probably the least good card here. But of course it is a win with the Demon. Archfiend stays on D, so this opens up the possibility of block plus Chain Lightning to kill the Archfiend. And we are attacking. So we're either on Pure Bluff or on Chain Lightning. It is Chain Lightning. So we can now mill ourselves, presumably for 5. No? Did not do that. 2 cards in hand for Boros, and they've put... here's the Demon, and I think that's game. Hard to think what interacts with this for 2 white. Yeah, so no cousin library. 10 points of burn in the upkeep would be nice, but it seems pretty unlikely with the 2 cards in hand. Some kind of shuffle your graveyard back into your library allows the game to continue. Purify the Grave, target swamp. So we did bring in Purify the Grave, which is maybe not good here, but I don't know if they go for a very early Lake of the Dead, it could be good. Okay, Swift is into the semi-finals. Let's find ourselves another match to watch. Let's see if we can grab Tom Sonic, the EXO player, if we can. Yeah, that game is still going, so let's join that. So a lot of clicking to do to get us to that stage. Okay, so here we have 6-0 player on Lelia Cascade against So Long Gay Bowser, great username, on Red Deck Wins, snuck into top 8 on tiebreakers. Oh, Magic Online is telling me I can't watch this game. Let's try again. Okay, just gonna restart Magic Online. Please hold. We'll try and get into this game. I'm never quite sure when this happens, if I've just caught it during sideboarding or if I'm being banned from watching. But I'll try the superstitious restart and see where we get to. So Tom Sonic on Lelia Cascade, 6-0 the Swiss. There's a little bit of technology in this list. There's a one-off Windcaller Avon, which you can cycle to give a creature flying, but which you don't cascade into because the front side CMC is 6 or 7 or something. So you can make your giant Lelia and jump it over any defense that's hanging out there, which is pretty sweet. I don't know if that was in the deck before or not. It wasn't in the last deck list I looked at, but I'm not a Lelia Cascade aficionado. Magic Online is, of course, clicking and whirring and trying to figure out how to start. So the top 8 was Lelia Cascade, Living Death that we saw is now in the semi-finals, Mono White Humans, a Jund World Gorgeous Dragon, which is pretty interesting, another Lelia Cascade, a Red Deck Wins, which is not this Red Deck Wins, the Boros Legends we saw lose, and a Red Deck Wins which we're about to watch. So, apart from various spinners getting in my way, I'm nearly back at the list of matches on Magic Online. Any year now. Okay. Momia Basic, 2-player queue. Might be something good going on there, but I'm going to look in Freeform Tournament Practice and see if I can get into this Tom Sonic match. Okay, I'm in. Let me show it to you. Or not, because I can't see it in the list of windows for some reason. Properties. Tom's. No. Please hold. Slight technical difficulties. There we go. Finally. So, what have we got here? Not sure which game we're in. Let me see if I can find that out. So the Red Deck Wins won the first game. This is game 2. Nothing on the board. Turn 4 for Red Deck Wins and a healthy 14 life for Lelia Cascade. Looks like we assaulted one of these creatures and we saw the truth and we used the Roaring Furnace part of this room to kill off the Charming Scoundrel. So we missed a land drop on the Lelia Cascade side and we did not cast one of the crazy 3-drops that the deck is built around. But here we are on turn 5 and we do find one. So we're going to make a 2-2, we're going to draw 3 cards. Life is good. 2-2 is not great into the 2-2 first strike on the other side. That's also pinging when Tom draws a card, so he's taking 3 from this Ancestral Recall. I think I would take 3 to Ancestral Recall though. Took another 1 to cast it off the Shivan Reef to get the blue mana. Now has an island, which is going to help. Maybe just chump blocking here, just to keep life total higher. I think maybe Tom Sonic mulliganed in this game because they only have 4 cards in hand after that. Does go for the chump block, anything to keep the life total nice and high. Up to 5 cards in hand, so land and the 4/3 Cascade would be pretty nice, although if it hits an Ancestral Recall you take another 3, or you have to choose not to cast it. Lelia would be pretty good. Shardless Agent. So this is a repeat of last turn. Does cast it. Wait, does not lose 3 life, so I misunderstand. Ah, see, the truth is look at and put into your hand. So it's not, it's better than Ancestral Recall. You heard it here first. And that's why we didn't take 3 from these last 2. Okay, so this is not a dubious play. This is a stock my hand up to 7, make a chump blocker, and I'm going to run away with this game once I get to a bit more mana with all these cards. Although Red Deck Wins has 5 cards in hand, having only played 3 spells this entire game and done 9 damage, forcing or requesting another chump block here at least. So both decks kind of doing alright. Not a decided match, not a decided game here for sure. I mean, to be going into turn 7 with 11 life and 8 cards in hand is, as the Lelia Cascade player, has got to be approximately where you want it to be. I wonder how many of these cards in hand for Red Deck Wins are lands and how many are burn spells that we're just holding on to until they're definitely correct to point at the face. Here's a Barbarian Ring. So we're at a virtual 8 here. Looks like we're going to take care of the Razorkin, which has definitely done a lot of work. Kill 2 Shardless Agents, pinged for 2 or 3. Often the way with PD Red Deck Wins, if you can handle the creatures, it's a little tough for them to draw enough burn to kill you. But Charming Scoundrel, Burmat Courier, Razorkin, Needlekin and this Shivan Reef between them have done 10, which might be enough. End of turn, kick Burst Lightning or something and be real dicey for... Okay, Incinerate, not quite as good but pretty close. Down to 7, virtual 5 if we can get enough cards in graveyard for a Barbarian Ring. Another Incinerate, down to 4. And we're now only 2 cards from Barbarian Ring. So there are a variety. Prize of Progress, which is lethal. And in fact, that is the match. So Tom Sonic 6-0 into quarterfinal loss, I'm afraid. But a great run for sure. Let's see if any of these matches are still going. So it looks like, yes, both the other 2 matches are still going. There's a Red Deck Wins against Mono White Humans, and there is this Jund World Gorger Dragon against Lelia Cascade. So let's try and get up the Jund World Gorger Dragon because it's intriguing to me. I guess I'll try and load both, and whichever one lets me in first. Okay, so the other one, they're in sideboarding in the other one, so I'm going to show you the Mono White Humans against Red Deck Wins, which presumably is coming to an end quite soon, being 2 aggro decks playing each other. What can I show you here? Where's the one that I did not get into? The one that I get into is hiding from me. There it is. Okay, so here we go. Possibly in game 3. Let's find out. Spell record correctly to find out. Yeah, so game 3, a Razorkin Needlehead is holding the fort against Thalia and Thalia's Lieutenant, both of which attack through it pretty easily. Life total's pretty close. Thalia just being played to give Thalia vigilance, as it were, sacking the tapped one and putting a counter on the Lieutenant, offering to trade with the Needlekin. 4 cards in hand for red deck wins is interesting. A 3-mana Incinerate goes face, so we can Chain Lightning or Incinerate and just pass the turn and win here. So if we can, we probably will. There is Incinerate, so dead to their own draw step unless they have instant speed removal for this Needlekin, or unless Rakura foolishly attacks. So 2 red deck wins into the semi-finals. Let me see if in the meantime I've been allowed into this last remaining quarterfinal, and it looks like they're early on in probably game 3. Let me bring it up. Okay, so there are no lands in play for Well-Gorgeous Dragon because I think they chose to discard to hand size rather than play a card. Looks like anyway. So presumably a game 3, but let's find out. Yeah, it's a game 3. Oh no! Well, actually, there's an unmarked grave in the graveyard, so it's hard to say. A lot of things exiled. Looks like maybe we exiled all the lands with a Repudiate. Actually, yes. So Chief Fireball assembled the combo, and a Repudiate at exactly the right spot caused the Well-Gorgeous Dragon's ability to exile all of Chief Fireball's permanents permanently. And now Goldfish Man has stocked up with a Shardless Agent and to see the truth, and is generally trying to kill Chief Fireball or find more answers to the combo before Chief Fireball draws. Well, what he needs at this point is at least another land and an Animate Dead, and maybe more than that, depending on how he's going to kill. 5 points of power now for Goldfish Man, so it's looking pretty darn good for Lelia Cascade here, but not a done deal. I mean, if one of these 4 cards in hand is Animate Dead and we draw an untapped land and we have a way to kill once we get the loop going, then it's still very much a possibility that the Well-Gorgeous Dragon deck pulls it out. So this is Jund Well-Gorgeous Dragon, not mono black, not blue black, which has been more common. I don't know what's exactly is being played, but definitely there's a 6 in this deck. Shriekhorn you see in the exile zone. Okay, so here's a Shriekhorn. So Shriekhorn is a win condition if you have the loop going, but they don't have the land, they don't have the Animate Dead, presumably, so they concede. So Lelia Cascade, 2 red deck wins, and a Living Death into the semi-finals. Let's see, so presumably the red deck wins are somewhat terrified of the Living Death and would rather play Lelia Cascade, and Living Death doesn't like the Repudiates out of Lelia Cascade, but probably not too afraid of any of these, so maybe the favourite at this point. Not quite sure if how much good Commandeer does against Living Death. No good commandeering Living Death because it's symmetrical. We'll see. Let's see what the matchups are. Maybe need some reports here. Nope, everybody has reported, and it is paired. So one of the red decks, so the red deck wins are not playing each other. So Rakura is playing Swiftwalk Kite 2, and Solongi Bowser, the other red deck wins player, is playing Lelia Cascade. Goldfish Man. let's go join whichever of these matches starts sooner. Neither so far. So funny, 2 red deck wins in the top 4. It's been a while since that happened in a big Penny Dreadful tournament. Swift Warkite 2 is chomping at the bit. Everyone else is taking a little breather in between their quarterfinal and their semi-final. So top 8 was 2 mid-range, 2 aggro, 2 combo. Well, I guess 4 aggro. If you count the red deck wins, the Boros Legends and the Mono White Humans. So a good mix, no control. There was a lot of blue-white control in the Swiss, but did not convert. Okay, looks like Swift Warkite 2 versus Rakura has started, so let me click all the necessary things to bring that up. And then this will probably be a quick one either way. Swift Warkite gets to choose whether to take 4 or not, and chooses yes. So does that imply anything? Because it goes to the graveyard in that scenario. Does that imply anything about Swift's hand? I mean, I guess in this deck you often keep just... oh wow, 2 chain links to the face. So Swift on 10 on turn 2, but facing no creatures. And here's an altar. So Lake and a Demon is a turn 3 kill. Dark Ritual and a Demon is a turn 4 kill, and looks like Rakura has no remaining creatures. Well, or 2 Dark Rituals plus a Demon. Okay, so turn 3 kill here, despite going to 10 on turn 2, is going to be good enough for Swift Warkite 2. And honestly, these matches are not very long. Oh, does not sacrifice. We wait until upkeep. Okay. I don't know what difference that makes, but there might be something to play around there. Here we go. Alright, on to game 2 we go. Pretty simple. Either you got it or you ain't. So sideboarding, I guess I can have a look at the deck lists here. I mean, Swift's Plan A and Plan B both seem good, so probably not too much going on there, although we did see that Languish against the other aggro deck. Three Languish seem like the only thing you would consider bringing in for Swift. Meanwhile, Rakura in mono red probably doesn't have a ton. Curse of Shaken Faith, Snagstorm, Smash to Smithereens is interesting. Generally we've seen Swift play the altar first and then have the big mana turn and play the demon, so it's a little bit reliant on your opponent doing things in a certain order, but it would work to stop the combo. So we don't have a second land that isn't a Lake of the Dead here, so that could be a sign of weakness for the mono black deck. They are on 15, so they've got plenty of time. Okay, so Furic Vortex is, don't know, I'm going to chip away some, down to 11, turn 3, does find the land, does have a Dark Ritual, does have another Dark Ritual, so close to infinite mana here, 9, there's an altar, there's a demon, into the final, goes mono black. Well, that was pretty straightforward, and it makes sense, right? The red deck doesn't really have a way to interact, and you know, the other deck just has to find the combo, not completely stutter And it should be good. Let's look at our other semi-final, see who's going to play Swift Warkite in the final. We have another red deck wins, this time against Lilia Cascade. Let's find out what game we're in. For game 1, somehow. So we had a little break before we started, perhaps. And Lilia Cascade doesn't seem to have green mana at this time, but certainly stopping some of the attacks here by Lagoon breaching, presumably the Stormcloak Noble, yeah. So only taking 2, going to 11. It's only red deck wins turn 3, and they still have 2 mana left. It's only 2 cards in hand, though. What have we got for a follow-up? Not a hasty creature, but something. Chose to take 4 off the Vexing Devil on turn 1, looks like. Made 2, or, well, no, it's maybe the Stormcloak Noble was turn 1, but having a think about these 2 cards in hand. With 2 Wilmot Couriers in hand, you just want to empty your hand. Yeah, well, that's interesting. I mean, it's 4 damage. It's an instant though. Could have waited to end of turn. We're playing around, so no green mana still. Now 3 non-basic lands, so price of progress just very, very good. Plays a Lelia, presumably staying on D? Yeah. And then maybe when we make it bigger, it can get in. But don't really want to trade 3 for 2 at this spot on 7 life. So price of progress and another burn spell is lethal here. Actually, just price of progress is lethal as you attack with both the couriers. Again, the 2 cards in hand are quite complex to think about. Sulfuric Vortex is pretty darn strong. So are we getting in for the 1 to reduce our clock by a turn, or are we staying back in case Lelia becomes enormous? The answer is we're staying back in case Lelia becomes enormous. Goldfish Man down to 5. So green land, Shardless Agent, make Lelia ginormous, blue mana, jump with the Avon. It's pretty strong. It's definitely a lot of things have to go right there. Okay. So we take out one of these couriers. Can we afford to attack? Probably not. Decides not. And we missed a land drop. And we still don't have green mana. And price of progress is very lethal. A lot is going to have to go right for Lilia Cascade to not go down a game here. Charming Scoundrel. Maybe looting. Depends what this last card in hand is. Chain Lightning is game here. Just goes for the Wicked Roll, so likes the card in hand. So maybe attacking just to get 1 in here. Looks like it. So it is a trade with Charming Scoundrel, so it might be tempting to take the 2. Pretty much anything is lethal anyway. No, decides 1 is a safer option. I'm happy to, prepared to lose the Lelia. Takes 1 from the Wicked Roll going graveyard, so still 2 damage. Down to 1 in upkeep. I think it's probably inconceivable that they win here. Would start with what? Bouncing Sulfuric Vortex? I don't know if they have anything in their deck that can do that. No, it's okay. So we go to game 2. So this is, I guess, great news for Living Death. Which definitely fears some blue interaction more than it fears the best curve out of red deck wins. I suppose if it doesn't find a lake or a dark ritual, that either of their plans will be too slow. But of course, with all the cycling, finding a lake or a dark ritual is kind of what the deck does. So we will see. But I think for a more interactive final. The neutral has to support Lelia Cascade to come back and win this 2-1. Seems kind of difficult. It's 3-color deck, extremely vulnerable to Price of Progress, and not really able to side into counter magic exactly. Right? You can play Commandeer and you can play Repudiate because they have a high CMC, but you can't play Mana Leak or Spell Pierce. So I'm not sure that Goldfish Man has a plan against Price of Progress other than die. But of course, you know, I don't necessarily draw it. Looking at the sideboard, I see Roadside Blowout's kind of a bounce spell that draws a card. Repudiate, Replicate, Broken Wings, Cut Ribbons. Oh, Arachnogenesis is maybe interesting, although it's more against... They do have 3 Forbid. Now, I don't know if you want to be bringing in Forbid against Red Deck Wins. That's maybe having too much fear of Price of Progress. Maybe you're better off killing the first 2 creatures and making a big Lelia than you are trying to survive some long game where they draw a Price of Progress or 2. I'm not sure. Haven't played from either side. So here we go, game 2. Lelia Cascade on the play at least. Looks like there's been a lot of mulligans. Nobody's actually stuck yet. We've got a 6 and a 5 right now. Red Deck Wins thinking about whether to keep 6 or go to 5. Keeps 6. Not sure if the decision was whether to keep or what to bottom. Lelia Cascade on 5 starts with a non-basic land, but at least they have green mana this time. Barbarian Ring, telling us something about the texture of this Red Deck Wins hands. Might be on 1 land here. Perhaps that was why a big think on 6. Probably have to take 4. Does not take 4, so untapping into the room removal spell, presumably. Plays a Flooded Grove. Oh, no, the sideboard Roadside Blowout. Return it to hand, draw a card for 1 mana, although it has to tap 2 mana to get the blue out of the Flooded Grove, this mana base being rather like any 3-color PD mana base, a little tricky. So we do have 2 lands, we do have a second land, it's just that they're both Barbarian Rings. Interesting. So it's not irrelevant, the damage that's going to be taken from these Barbarian Rings here. I mean, it's going to be quite a lot, but Solangibals are definitely the aggressor, so not quite so tragic as it might be in a mirror or something. So we're going for the 4-3 again, this time presumably doing the 4 damage. Or do we have other things? 2 drops. So Chain Lightning Face. Not really a show of strength when the opponent is at 20. And here's the Devil that we already knew about. So both players on 17, but presumably Goldfish Man takes it this time, but maybe they have a removal spell. They do not. So untapping into another Roadside Blowout, or the room that does damage equal to cards in hand, or something. Maybe even just Jump Blocker. Okay. So no. Somehow none of those things, and we see the truth into a pain land. Yikes. So I guess having decided not to take the 4, we then thought hitting our land drop was important enough to cast See the Truth. Maybe there's some more mana interaction here. The Roadside Blowout is a sorcery, so it will not be another one of those, even though there is more than one in the sideboard, and it is very good against the Devil. Presumably we're getting a Wicked Roll here. Maybe we're digging for a 3rd land with the Rummage. Presumably the Wicked Roll. Take 6. Yeah, we could roll. So yeah, definitely a misstep with the Vexing Devil. It's now done the 4 damage that it would have done. Let's see. Okay, another See the Truth is definitely not a show of strength. Tapping the only red mana. And this looks like red deck wins versus Excruciated Demon in the final repeat of the other semi-final. Not really sure what Goldfish Man would do to come back from this. Maybe a 5th land into the Cascade guy, into another Cascade guy, into draw 3, have 2 blockers, in fact 2 trades, and so on. But I mean, presumably Solange Bowser's 5 card, no land hand is capable of putting 5 damage together, maybe even like right now, and in fact there is 6 damage on the stack, and that's it. So the final will be Swift Warkite 2 on Excruciated Demon Living Death versus Solange Bowser on Red Deck Wins. Very nicely done. And yeah, I mean, the Lelia Cascade deck seems pretty vulnerable, specifically to Price of Progress, and in general to kind of being run over a bit with a million cards in hand. Let's let the machine do the pairings. So you can always trust Swift Warkite 2 to crush a tournament when there's a good combo deck to be had. Likes a short round, although also an aggro slide champion back in the day. So not one-dimensional by any means. Swift has put the match up. We'll join when we can. Swift was second in the Swiss, 5-1. Solange Bowser was 8th, snuck in as the 3rd X2. Many X2s missed, and X2 even missed top 16, so there was a lot of them. So only 3 losses in 16 matches between both players here. Gotta be favoured for Excruciated Demon. You have to think that they will have to stumble really to lose. You know, there's no Price of Progress to bail you out and do 12 damage or something. In fact, you don't even want Price of Progress because Lake of the Dead's the only non-basic. So you have to kind of do it the hard way. Burn spells and little guys getting in, and I guess the very best Goldfish for the Red Deck Wins deck is probably turn 4. So you kind of need the Demon deck, the Living Death deck, to either miss on Demon or Living Death, or Alter if they've got Demon, or the fast mana, which can definitely happen, but given that most of the cards in their deck are cyclers that are not lands and not the payoff cards, it's probably, you know, not that likely. But we'll see. This is, you know, we play the games for a reason, and they are starting. So let me show it to you. Here is the final of the first, hopefully not the last, MTGO Super Saturday, sponsored by the community team of Magic Online. 4,900 play points in prizes to the top 16. Looks like Red Deck Wins won the die roll. It's probably pretty important. And now they need a little stumble while they do their thing. I mean, both decks pretty consistent at doing their thing, but presumably mono black faster unless it fails to find fast mana, which there is, you know, 8 pieces plus cycles to find. Red Deck Wins keeps 7, mono black 6. Turn 1 is a Chain Lightning, definitely not a show of strength. You'd much prefer to have 1 drop there. Living Death cycles. So hasty 2 drop is probably what we're hoping for out of Red Deck Wins. Okay, Razor King Needlehead. That's actually pretty good because it means each cycle does a damage. So that's sort of a little disruptive in a sense. And there we go, Cycle Archfiend, and it's already done 2 damage and it's still summoning sick. It's going to get in another 2 here. No altar, so it's not all rolled up for the turn 3 kill. Choose to rummage, so too many lands. Could have had extra damage here, but valued ditching a 4th mountain, or maybe more than 4th. Swift down to 12, 11 in upkeep. Do they need to cycle more to get where they're going? They do. Down to 10. Do have a lake. Do use the lake. So this is going to be a living death. It's a living death. So now creatures are not so effective for Red Deck Wins because the Archfiend and cycling will kill little red creatures. So you're really looking to pump out 10 points of burn over 2 turns here. 4 cards in hand, 3 lands. It's doable, but it's quite a big ask. Alternatively, you could Chain Lightning and Architects and make it a 3-turn clock, but then you've lost 3 points of burn. And what are you going to draw with that extra turn you bought that's better than a Chain Lightning? Probably not very much. Maybe Swift will leave something back if he has no lands and no 1-mana cycler. Okay. So we're Charming Scoundrel, probably going to rummage. Yeah. Rummaging, looking just for burn here. Ditches another mountain, so a bit flooded for Red Deck Wins. Finds a courier. So both these creatures die to a single cycle. So you'd expect to see out of Swift a cycle followed by an attack for 11. There's still time for the cycle before blockers here. And the Venusaur has Vigilance, so stupid PD staple imposing Venusaurs. Vigilance kind of pretty relevant here if there isn't going to be a cycle to kill the blockers. 10 points of burn is a lot to ask when Price of Progress doesn't do the thing. Just takes it. So chump blocking available next turn to buy another turn. 3 cards in hand. If there were 3 Chain Lightnings, it would be good enough with the attack, assuming no cycle. But that is quite a big assumption. I think maybe I would have chump blocked with Charming Scoundrel on the basis that all of my creatures are quite likely to die. So here's potentially 4 damage, but Swift says my Imposing Venusaur blocks 4/3s all day, mate. No problem. Only 2 cards left now, so really looks like a hard road for Red Deck Wins here. Gonna need to be... Actually can't really picture what the 2 cards plus top of the library. I mean, we do have some blocks, I guess. We could even trade for an Imposing Venusaur or trade the Vexing Devil for an Architects of Will, assuming no cycle. Swift has 5 cards in hand, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some heavy-duty cycling happening, even sack a land, cycle, you know, get rid of the devil and everything, because then it's lethal. So there's a lot that can happen here. No attack with Bowmark Couriers, interesting-ish. And it does have a cycler, so did not get greedy with that. Did allow the blocks, which I think is interesting, but it is going to pay off pretty well. I mean, 2 more cycles and it's hard to imagine. I mean, we could have an Incinerate here, I guess, is one thing that could matter, but it really only prolongs a game that's lost. So any cycle forces interaction from Red Deck Wins. just the attack forces a jump block, and it's just very hard to see how Red Deck Wins can possibly get 10 damage in before it gets killed by these creatures. Gotta jump or burn. Chooses to go to 1. End of turn, incinerate you, maybe. Untap. Chain lightning, that's 1 point short. We're just going to hard cast. We have 7 mana here. We're going to alter demon just for the rub-ins. Maybe. Incinerate you down to 7. Looks like game 1 goes to Doomsday Excruciator or attack for damage or anything you like, really. Hard to imagine doing 7 points in the upkeep, and Solonge Bowser agrees, and off we go to game 2. So kind of as we expected. Feel like it's really got to be a 1-drop out of red, right? They've got to play a 1-drop into a 2-drop or 2 more 1-drops. I mean, trying to get to 20 points of burn with Incinerate, Chain Lightning, and Burst Lightning is just asking too much. I mean, Vexing Devil helps because it's 4. I mean, mostly they need Swift to stumble on, draw 4 altars, no demons, or 4 demons, no altars, or all payoffs, no fast mana, or all fast mana, no payoffs. The Razorkin Needlehead looked pretty good. I think if you went Stromkirk Noble, Razorkin Needlehead, Bomat Courier as your first 3 turns, that might be a stumble, or even a draw that needs a lot of cycling to find the stuff. But it's pretty obvious what side of the matchup you want to be. And I suppose, apart from the Lelia Cascades, which do play blue mana and do have some interaction for these combos for sure, it was kind of a good top 8 for Excruciator Demon here. All the blue-white controls of the world did not quite make top 8. There was at least 1 in 15th, I see. But that would presumably be a lot harder, maybe even very hard, although, Duress is a card and so on. But here we go, game 2. Solonge Bowser, quite a mouthful. Is chosen to play first, not very surprisingly. Thinking about their 7. Really thinking about their 7. Okay, so we do have the 1-drop, I think the best 1-drop. So now we need Mono Black to stumble, and we need to follow up with Razorkin or just a really great number of Chain Lightnings at the very least. Looks like maybe we don't have a second land. Yeah, no second land from Red Deck Wins. That's probably pretty bad. Here's an altar. So now we're looking for land off the top to go with our sided in Smash to Smithereens that we already had in hand. Would be pretty sweet. We do not have that. So takes the 4, takes a further 3, and now numerous ways, well, couple of ways at least, that this match ends this turn. And there is one of them. Do we got the demon? Well, that's it. Excruciated Demon, Altar of Dementia, crushes this top 8. Congratulations to Swiftwalkite 2. Thanks everybody that's playing. Thanks so much to Magic Online for acknowledging our existence and providing a great number of play points as prizes. And thanks for watching. Cheers.